Somebody did ask earlier in the chat, and I know I've come at this a few times because I look at these 2 5-stars on defense and really want and just feel like if one of them can just flash, pop this season, CJ Hicks or Sonny Styles, of course, who's not going to have the just getting on campus now, that's going to be huge for this defense. And then, of course, there's the JTT / Jack Sawyer impact that could be more expected this year than was probably a little unrealistic to expect that those guys would be up to speed and ready to really be all conference kind of players their first year, Tony. So a lot of guys could just all of a sudden emerge.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that it's going to be the 2021 class that explodes this year, and 2022 will have to wait. But, you're talking about JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Mike Hall, just on that defensive line, all 2021 guys, all second-year guys. They'll be relying on those 4. Then you go into the secondary. We know Denzel Burke. He started all year long last year, but you don't necessarily know Jordan Hancock, another second-year corner. Ja'Kalen Johnson, another second-year corner that, Hancock was really good this spring and could be in the mix if they want to rotate corners this year. Maybe he gets in there with Cam Brown and Denzel Burke. But in terms of like the freshmen, I don't know which freshman I'm expecting to stand out. Like Kai Stokes may be in the 2 deep. I'm really standoffish and not pessimistic, but Sonny Styles, I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for him because he's enrolling a year early. He's playing a position that also has some depth. There may be 4 guys ahead of him, depending on who's playing where at safety. So I think, and the same can be said for CJ Hicks as well. As you guys know, like it's Steel Chambers, maybe it's Cody Simon, maybe it's Taraj Mitchell. Like there's a lot of guys in that inside linebacker that will spot that is going to make it difficult for CJ Hicks. But I do expect a huge surge of the second-year guys, not unlike the 2014 team, which won a national title based on all of their second-year guys.
Get David Whalen on the line. Howdy, Mark, Steve, Tony, Kevin. So, are there any comparative metrics that reveal overall team speed, overall toughness? Don't know how that would be measured regarding Big Ten teams.
Wow. Short of playing the new NC2A video game that's supposed to come out in 2023 as Matt Brown of, Extra Points or whatever his venture is, was able to get through the FOIA request. How we could talk about the video games. There isn't necessarily a speed or a toughness quotient out there. Everybody's going to sit there and have puffed up 40 times in terms of what they do that. We see the pictures taken out of the weight room from the WAC, and it's just like, there are not that many people who are in the sport who are running 4.25. So, take that with a grain of salt or whatever. And, it's not like you can just look at weight room numbers for some of that. So I don't know if there's really anything that's comparative metrics on there. I think what you just need to do is look at how teams play in the fourth quarter in terms of toughness. If you can get it out, if you can play full 4 quarters, and that's kind of unfair because some teams have their starters in bubble wrap by the fourth quarter, so you can't necessarily, use that. But I don't know. I don't know if Steve or Tony have any better ideas there.
Yeah, the metrics are determined when the teams get on the field. That's the best metric, the final score of the games. You don't know that because you don't know. It's all intestinal fortitude. I think it's all because everybody trains 27 hours in a 24-hour day. They're all working overtime to the point of exhaustion with these players, 5-6 days a week, 58 weeks a year. They put these guys through hell to get ready to play these seasons. So, I can't sit here and say, one of them's prepared better or more than anybody else because it's just impossible to gauge that. But you know it. Obviously, we'll know it beginning with the Notre Dame game, and then after that, you'll have an idea week after week what the team's capable of and what it isn't. And that's just the way it is. You just prepare the best that you can with the players that you have, and you go play. And that's why we continue to harp on the importance in this day and time in our sport of having the biggest, the fastest, the best players, because those are the ones that give you obviously the best chance to win games. And when you don't have them, as Ohio State did not in some instances in some positions last year, you don't win those big games. And that's just the fact of the matter. So I guess if they make improvement at the positions where they were deficient last year and continue to raise up where they're at, then they'll be right where they need to be.
One of the metrics, the stats that I like to look at that I find at cfbstats.com is plays of 10 plus yards, 20 plus yards, 30 plus yards, and so on. Last year, Ohio State led the nation in plays of 50 yards or more from scrimmage with 18. So that gives you some sense of speed, I think. Michigan was second with 17, so that kind of takes away from my argument a little bit, I think. And then you also go to like 40-yard plays. Ohio State was second in the nation with 25. Oklahoma second in the nation with 25. Kent State led the nation with 28. So it's more relative speed, I think, than necessarily overall speed. Kent State was faster than Eastern Michigan. They're not faster than Georgia, So I think it gives you it's information, at least that stat in terms of speed. But there are not a lot of now. What they are doing now is you do have some. You're starting to see these companies measure like miles per hour. Like there's a new stats company out there that will just monitor the movement of every single player at the same time, and they'll tell you how fast they've run. I think soccer has been doing it for years, but it gives you an idea of who the fastest teams are. Now, what you'd have to find that in certain instances, like running a 9 route. That's going to give you an idea of how fast guys are, more so than dropping back into coverage or something like that. But you were going to see more and more metrics and analytics for all of this stuff because, one, coaches and schools can afford it, a lot of them, and people consume it. Like there are people who are the niche audience that we all know about. Like they're up for stuff like this. I mean, you've seen it with PFF. Like, why do people care? Why does the average Joe care how the left guard rated last season? But people do, and so you're just going to keep spinning this and spiraling it and seeing what else people will consume, because it gives you two different revenue streams. You've got the public and then you've got the private that teams will pay for and also people will pay for it. So yeah, there will be continued metrics evolving. Overall toughness, I would just go who gets how many targeting penalties do you have? That should measure. That's how you measure toughness.